Hi, everybody. Rick Bassman here for Talking Tough Live today, live from Maui on Inauguration Day. This has nothing to do with politics because you know we don't talk them here, but the country's in a mood today. Some like it, some don't. There's a big division, but we don't have that on Talking Tough. We always get along here, unless we have my good friend Andrew Bernarski on, and that's a whole different story, of course. Today should be really good. We're going to talk about something I usually try to avoid, pro wrestling, and which would seem like to be an obvious topic based on what this show is created for, but we haven't done much that here lately. Today is a pure all wrestling day. We're going to focus in on my pit bull in the background. Well, you guys know they're going to bark at one point, so apologies in advance. We're going to focus in on the heyday of UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling. That was our promotion in California, at the time considered possibly the top independent promotion in the world. Our sister school, Ultimate University, was definitely considered the top pro wrestling school in the world at that point in time. And that school turned out hundreds of people that went to perform in other places in the industry, many that became stars in their own right within UPW. And none more so. Our girls, we have the divas in WWE. UPW, the women were called the Vixens. We had a young lady with us, and we'll get into her debut and her origin story once we bring her on, who, in my humble opinion, was the most popular UPW Vixen ever, both in the ring, in front of stage, and behind the scenes, both. We'll get into her intro once we bring her on. So we'll do that in a moment. First, my co-host today, and along with Rachel Sartoris, the producer of Talking Tough, the esteemed czar of the two-man power trip podcast empire, Mr. John Poz.
Rick, what's going on? How you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you as always with all your paraphernalia. I'm going to fly out there one of these days when you're at work, and I'm going to draw something really nasty over that Ultimate Warrior photo that I have to look at behind you every time I see you on the screen. But that's a story for a different day, man. I was about to bring our guest on, John. Anything that you want to say to help do the intro?
No, let's bring her on. I can't wait to talk a little bit of UPW and find out where you found her.
Right on. All right. Well, in that case, UPW's original Vixen. You guys will know her. If you don't recognize her immediately, you'll know her once we get into the story. None other than my old friend, Jenny Looney Lane.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
Hey,
thank you for having me. How are you, John?
It's so good to see you.
Very good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's really good to see you, Jenny.
Day. Good to see you too. It's been a long time.
Did you watch any of it today?
I know I just got to see the final stuff as they were leaving the White House. I saw this. I saw like the final prayer. That's about it. I went. Okay. I sleep in. I didn't get up early for the inauguration. Sorry,
John. Did you watch any of it, John?
I did not watch 1 second of it. Didn't watch any news today. Nope, missed it.
I set my alarm here at 5:30 a.m. Hawaii time to watch pretty much the whole damn thing.
Oh, wow.
It's a culmination of a lot of drama, and I just wanted to see it. That's all. But it's all good. Here we are. Let's talk about something important. Pro wrestling, John Poz, the two-man power trip, UPW, and Looney Lane. Let's do that.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
John, you said you had something you wanted to know.
Yeah, Looney, where did he find you and how did he recruit you in? Because, right, he recruited you in to UPW?
Well, a long time ago, I was dating a friend, Chris Bell, if you guys know Chris Bell, and his little brother, Smelly, was getting into wrestling, and he started to train with UPW. I came down just to check it out. And I let them know like, hey, I want to be a part of the team. Do you need help backstage? What do you need? Because at the time I was a huge wrestling fan and I just wanted to be a part of the show. Like, do you need help backstage? What do you need? And Rick's like, we need valets. Do you want to come and be a valet? And I basically, from there on, he brought me in. I started training, and kind of goes from there. Also, when the scouts would come out and see us too, that was another thing. Like, I had to learn how to start to wrestle after the scouts came out to see us. So
yeah, Bruce Pritchard loved you. I remember that. Bruce really loved you guys. Had a relationship, if I remember correctly.
No, we did. Those are back in the days when Looney liked to put a few away, and I was always good at picking up at the airport and dropping off later, and we'd all have beers, and I don't do that anymore, but back in the day I used to be able to put a few away. So I had a pretty good relationship with all the old time wrestlers back then with that.
You were Bruce Pritchard's Airport Express. That's right. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah. So I used to pick up.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was always on airport duty, living so close to LAX. So whenever we had talent come into town back in those days, you would always be like, "Hey, Looney, can you do me a favor?" And either I or Sasha Savvy would go pick them up and bring them out to Orange County.
Rick pay you extra for that?
Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Rick pay you extra for picking up all the guys from the airport?
What? Who gets paid? Who gets paid in professional wrestling? I'm sorry. Yeah. Who gets paid in independent wrestling? My bad. Now, I got paid with experience.
Yeah, John.
I got paid with a lot of experience, and I was paying my dues by picking up those. It was still a man's world, so I was paying my dues.
It's a man's world. You just said, okay, so you said something that makes me want to launch right into a question that was sent to me on Facebook Messenger. I don't have the gentleman's name in front of me, so if he's watching, I apologize to not credit you. I'll try to find it later. He's asking, with the Me Too movement being so in the news and speaking out, which is pro wrestling's own version of the Me Too movement, you were in the business back in the day where, it's not a million years ago, but long enough ago, where it's pretty hush-hush still.
20 years ago, Did
you catch any of that vibe in your time with UPW, with WWF, with any other organizations?
No, I was very fortunate to be like a little sister to a lot of these guys and learning how to wrestle with them. And basically I was their beat up dummy. So I was like the little sister, I think, that they never had. I became super close. I was close with my, I call them my road dogs, like John Cena and Samoa Joe. I never experienced any of that back then, because also I dated Chris Bell at the beginning. So it's kind of like, it was more so we were just trying to put on a show and put on a good show and promote a good product. That's what we wanted to do. So I don't know.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I didn't experience any. It was probably me. If anyone was doing any flirting, it might have been me. But it wasn't any. I'm trying to be funny about it. I was more of the little sister. I would get picked on, especially with Mad Dog Mike Bell around. I definitely got the little sister. Plus, I dressed like a Catholic schoolgirl. I look like a 14-year-old. So, it just came along with it. We were more of a family. It was a very family orientated backstage where we worked at UPW. And then if we went backstage to the big leagues with Rick, if we went backstage, how to mind your P's and Q's. And we were basically taught at the university before we would get in those professional situations how to handle it. And that's why when I did go to work for WWE, which I like to say WWF back then, when we did go to work for them, we got kudos because of how professional that we acted, that we weren't there trying to hang out with and hook up with wrestlers. That wasn't our style. We were there what were we trying to do? Give the audience a better product, give a better performance. We were just trying to be professional and trying to get a job. I mean, that's what everyone wanted back then.
Agreed. And I'm glad to hear you didn't have that vibe with our company. And I like that you said family atmosphere, because when I talk about it these days, I'll always say that. And I know it sounds like a little bit like fantasy land, like, oh yeah, a pro wrestling company was like a family, sure. But I really always felt that it was, and I don't think we had an environment. Yeah, I don't think our environment would have tolerated guys hitting on girls and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't have been cool.
No, we were all. It was very family orientated. I mean, you're talking about 30 people to 40 people who'd have to get on a bus together to go to San Diego every other month, and then we'd have to put on our shows together every other month. I mean, we lived at the Galaxy Theater. My mail was forwarded there. I mean, that or we were at the training facility.
Chainsaw Barbarian has a bunch
Jenny,
of,
you're really good at this.
What do you mean? I'm really
look at one. Looney Lane was absolutely my favorite UPW personality. That's nice.
Aw, thank you.
You're really good at this, John. I think I'm going to hand the reins of Talking Tough over to Looney Lane. She's got this down, man.
Yeah.
You are good. You are good.
Thank you.
So I want to back up to, you said, hey, I want to be involved. Did you get asked to be a valet? And the next thing you know, you're taking bumps.
Well,
did you plan on doing that? Is that what you wanted to do? Actually?
No, you're talking to a girl who's a huge wrestling fan, who went into, I went into my boss one day. I was working in the Valley and I wanted tickets to a WWE show, or at the time it was WWF, and it was a Saturday house show. It was not even a taped show. And I was a huge fan. I took my girlfriends that I lived with. I made them go with me because I made them watch Monday Night Raw in our house every Monday. No one was allowed to watch anything else but Monday Night Raw. And that was November 30th, I think, of 1999. And then I think in November 29th of 2000, Rick had me walking down the stage at the Anaheim Pond, the same venue that I went to go see that Saturday night show. A year later, Rick had me walking down down the stairs down the steps at Monday Night Raw when we had our when we did our what was it? The crowd warmers, the dark matches.
Yeah, that's wow. So that's surreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
1 year, and they're like, just so people understand. I mean, I think they got it, but you're talking Anaheim Pond. It's a pretty big arena, 18,000, and they would almost always sell out back in those days. So that means you're in front of 18,000 people doing this a year after you got started.
And you're talking about an era where women were only featured in maybe one match if we were lucky, or to have managers come out at that time as valets or managers. And I got to do it with my best friend, and I got to do it with Mad Dog and Aaron. And I got to do it with my best friend though at the time. And for two females to be seen and go out and doing a dark match at that point in time, we were the firsts. So
that was a big deal. You're right. I forgot about that. I don't remember a lot, unfortunately.
No. Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, like, didn't you guys have like one super intensive spot amongst everything else you were doing? Where you guys just went at it hard, right?
Yep. Sasha gave me the savvy spear. She gave me a fat spear. I took a huge bump for her. And we did a nice big cat fight. We got a huge pop from the crowd. A lot of people backstage gave us a lot of credit that we had one of the biggest pops. We were excited, but also it's like, we're not going to sit around and hang around. But we went in, we did our job. But no, it was very surreal being a fan. And then a year later, walking down that stage, and then, and getting to keep sharing these experiences. I met my best friend, my soul sister, through all of it. So it was awesome.
That's you're talking about, obviously, Sasha Savvy Bryant.
Yeah. And now it's Sasha Savvy Mendeville. She's
She is a mommy now with
two babies, and she runs a nationally acclaimed dance at South Dance High School. South Dance, She runs our high school dance department. So they're national champions. So I got to give it up to her. She's awesome. She's doing great. So shout out to Savvy.
She was always so good at that. John, we had a thing called the Powerbomb Dancers. I don't remember the origin of that, but we thought, why would it not be a great idea to have a dance troupe that just shows up and does dance numbers between the matches, right? So the young lady Jenny's talking about, that was Sasha Bryant, Savvy. That was my big crush at UPW. I know you remember that, of course. And she was a ballet and a character and a good one. She actually was, I think, our lightweight men's champion for a minute also.
Yeah.
And then she ran the Powerbomb dance team also. So lady who wore a lot of hats. If she's watching, hi Sasha.
Yeah, she did wear a lot of hats. She's awesome.
Good people.
She still wears a lot of hats as a mom, as a teacher. It's crazy out in California.
Oh, you're in Vegas now. Oh, am I supposed to say that? Well, you're in Vegas.
Well, I'm back in Vegas. I'm back and forth. I go back and forth. I'll be making a trip back next month. So when I say back, I go back to Redondo Beach. That's my home. So
right, the South Bay. That is your stomping grounds. I know that. Yes.
Yeah.
So you go you're a year in, you go out in WWF. I say the same thing you do, by the way. That's what it was called then. That's what it was called. I don't like to do that revisionist history thing. So you go, you pop the crowd big time in the dark match. There's a bunch of other things you do. And then comes your moment where you get an offer to be a WWF performer. And you know what I'm talking about. We've already had people asking questions about it.
When did I get an offer?
Well, maybe offer was wrong. Oh, I forgot to tell you about that. I'm sorry, Jenny. I must be misphrasing. You went out and you performed as a character, a WWF created character.
Oh, I went out and did a backstage appearance when I went on television. Are you talking about that?
I'm talking about HL, you know what?
Oh,
that I did not come up with that. That's way beyond my thought process. Oh my God.
That's totally WWE or WW. No, that was WWF era. That was WWF era because they would never get away with it now in WWE when we did that.
No, and I forgot what it was called. What was it called again?
HLA, Hot Lesbian Action.
I'm sorry to hear that. Can you repeat that?
HLA, Hot Lesbian Action. Yes.
I just wanted to hear you say it again. That's all.
That's all. Yeah. That was our claim to fame. That was our claim to fame. That was our big deal. The best is when you called me, you had to call Sasha first because Sasha did it with me. So I guess you had to convince Sasha because you said Looney's in and Sasha and basically you called me and said, Savvy said, if Looney's doing it, she'll do it.
I always do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll do whatever. I don't care. I'm gonna be on national television on WWF. What are you talking about? Let's do it. And we didn't know we were doing it until we got there.
Wow. So walk us through that. John, you must have some questions about this, I'm sure.
So how did they pick you? How did you get recruited into being this character? And did you know what it was before you were basically on screen?
No, it was basically Rick called me. Rick was our go-to. Rick was my manager. So Rick called me. He said, look, they contacted me. They wanted professionals. They wanted girls who could handle this. Can you do this? I said, absolutely. You know, I'm in. And they're like, okay, cool. Well, the only way that Savvy's going to do it is if you do it. I said, let's do it. So literally they had us on a flight the next day. We flew out, we get there. They said just to bring clothes that, you know, basically provocative clothes that we'd go out to at a club or whatever. So we're California, we're hip. We bring our clothes. And we said, just in case, let's bring our stripper heels. Cause we always had these funny stripper heels that we would wear out that were out of control. Let's bring them just in case. Cause we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. So when we get there, we order food. They send us to our room. We get a hotel room. We order food. I instantly get food poisoning that next morning. So I woke up and I was throwing up the whole time. So I get up, I'm bringing all my stuff. I get all my stuff together with Sasha. Sasha's like, come on, girl, we got to do this. And we know we were representing, Rick, we're representing our company. We're representing everyone back home. So, okay, cool. I just swallow it up, go out there. I literally I had some famous old time wrestler who had to pick us up. I had him gagging on the side of the road because I had to make him pull over because I was so sick. It was so bad. So they get us to the arena.
What was it? Do you remember?
Oh,
it was a wrestler,
Yeah, it was two old time wrestlers. The two, and I think he's gone now, but I had him gagging on the side of the road. It was so bad. I was so sick. So we get to the arena and they're like, okay, so do you guys know what's going on today? And we're like, no, we have no clue. They're like, okay, well, you guys are Hot Lesbian Action. You guys are going to be two girls that are here. And we're like, what? So being that, because what it was Monday night's answer to Thursday night's commitment ceremony at the time. Badass Billy Gunn and that other dude were going to have a commitment ceremony. So Raw was going to kick it up a notch and do Hot Lesbian Action because Eric Bischoff at the time was the guy who ran the show on TV. So Eric Bischoff brought hot lesbians in to counter the gay commitment ceremony on Thursday night. So we basically meet with them. They wanted us in matching bra and panties. We had none of that. So they had to send people in Iowa. I think we're in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. They had to send them to a local mall to a Victoria's Secret or something and get matching clothes for us. So once they got that all situated, they were worried about me. By the way, being, how tight knit it is backstage at a wrestling company. So us being the outsiders, especially at the time when they would hire outside female entertainment, they weren't usually professional wrestlers that they hired at the time. They hired pretty girls from either bars or, I should say, strip clubs.
Like the Godfather O-Train thing, yeah.
Okay, so that was going on at the time. So when we came backstage, a lot of the girls were not too receptive to us. So so they moved us 3 times to different dressing rooms. I was on the floor every second that nobody was in the room with me. I was on the floor in pain, like trying not to throw up. And they moved us around. Wow. So then it became our time to go out and do our walkthrough. And they're like, okay, get your pads on and everything. And I looked at Sasha. I was like, pads? I'm like, we have to wear pads to go out into the ring. So I went out into the ring and I was barefoot in sweatpants and a tank top. And we're just going to do a walkthrough. And I think they thought I was crazy. And I was like, well, what are we doing? Because I need you to tell me what we're going to do. Because I was trying not to throw up. I was trying to hold it down. I was shaking Vince McMahon's hand with trying not to throw up on him. So we get through the walkthrough. They're like, we're going to do a super kick. You're just going to step into a super kick. And then we're going to pick up Sasha. We're going to throw her around. And then we're going to put her on top of you and blah, blah, blah. Okay, easy peasy. But we had all these lines that we had to do. We had all these intros and outros that we had to film. Because we were, HLA, we were the hot lesbian action that they kept talking about all night. So Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon were in our dressing room with us. That was like clear across the whole place where we were even at. And they were walking lines with us over and over and over again because they were so nervous because this was a big deal. So we get out there, gorilla position, do our thing, get out there, we nail it. Sasha and I nail it. I mean, I've never worked with a more professional person in my life. She's like, I am not kissing you on national television. I will show you how to give a kiss without giving a kiss because she's a professional actress, everything. She's trained in everything. So I go out there and I handle business with my best friend. But as soon as that super kick was coming my way, it wasn't a super kick. It was a boot to my gut. Knocked the wind out of me. I couldn't breathe. So from the first get, I take this bump and they're like, you got to give a dead cell. And I'm like, yeah, I know how to give a dead cell. I gave a dead cell because I couldn't freaking breathe. So then
Thank God you didn't throw up at least. Wow.
No, I'm so happy I didn't throw up. And then,
right?
Yeah, and then they threw Sasha on top of me in the 69 position, and then did that Samoan splash off the top rope, which knocked the wind out of me again. So then they bring out the referees rush us, and they're like, Looney, are you okay? Sasha, are you okay? And Sasha's like, I'm fine. And I'm like, I can't breathe. So they bring out stretchers. They bring out the real EMTs for me, and they brought out the fake EMTs for her. And when we go backstage, they wheel us back. And I've never seen so many wrestlers that I've worked with from UPW, when Tommy Dreamer would come, or Edge, any wrestler that worked with me through UPW who was backstage at WWF right when I was coming off the stretcher was back there, and they were pissed. They were like,
"Oh, because you got stiff."
Because I got stiffed. They were like, "What the F just happened?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." They're like, "No, that's not fine." They're like, "They don't know they don't know you." And I go, "And they didn't know me, and I learned my lesson." So I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say, but like Edge was pissed. Tommy Dreamer was pissed. But I mean, that was like the respect I guess I had from our locker room at UPW, into WWF, because, I wasn't hoeing around or whatever. But go ahead.
Makes a big difference. Yes. Wow. I don't know if I ever knew all those details. That's pretty crazy stuff.
The sickness. Oh, I thought you said something, John.
No. Nope.
Yeah, no, with the sickness, it was pretty bad. But other than that, we got through it. They tipped us extra at the end of the show. They gave us extra money than what we were supposed to be earning that night. They said we did such a great great job. So, they were happy with us. And at the time, they sent us the tapes. Like, nobody ever sends tapes, ever. WWE, they didn't, or WWF, they never sent out tapes. They sent out tapes to us.
Do you still have it?
I think I might, but I know that my dad documented everything while I was wrestling. So I know I have some DVDs here.
I still have VHS tapes. I've got to get them converted, but I can't find a place on Maui that converts tapes. Like, nope, not that. Wrong one. Hold on. There it is. Like that tape.
Let's get to it. Look at that picture.
Nice.
Remember that?
Look at that. Yes, I do remember that.
Inside Pro Wrestling School is a documentary that we made with Tom Beers. You remember Tom? Who
I remember
the
Tom.
Guy who owned it. Tom was the guy who owned the Deadliest Catch, the reality show.
Yep.
So he was our co-producer on this. It was on the Discovery Channel. And there were
you have like the actual tape and everything. I love it.
This is the action. It's still in the shrink wrap. That's why it's probably shining.
Awesome.
I can't watch it because I'm a VHS player. But
that's awesome. I know I have that on VHS or on DVD somewhere. I think my dad taped it for me.
That's awesome. So everybody out there in internet land, that's Looney Lane right there, getting her hair pulled by the sadist. There's John Cena right over your shoulder.
Yep.
And Jesus Aguilera behind you. That really good-looking bald guy up front. I don't know who that is, but anyway.
I think that's you.
Oh shoot, that's me. Okay.
Look at
anyway,
swag.
what man? It was crazy times. So to back up, you come into like, hey, I'll do something, and you end up being a valet. Then you start training. You start taking bumps. I'm sorry. I'm gonna jump around. One question I want to ask first, because people want to know stuff like this. So, how much did you make for getting creamed on the dark match?
$12.50.
Not the dark match, on the HLA deal. How much was that?
The original price is $500 to get seen.
I remember that. Yeah, $500, right?
$500. You want to be on TV, because I got to do a little backstage thing before I did this on WWF. But yeah, we got paid $12.50. They tipped us out in cash at the end, $7.50.
Shoot, John, you know what just occurred to me? Jenny got an extra $750 I wasn't aware of. You owe me $75.
I do owe you $75. I do.
That's all right. We'll call it a wash. Statute of limitations and all that.
Right.
Who's the pay person? Who's the person that pays you out?
Backstage.
Yeah.
I think I got cash handed to me by Bruce Pritchard. He was the
Was it Bruce?
yeah, Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah, John, I know like a lot of times the Fink would do the payoffs. Howard Finkel. It changed a little bit here and there. Rene Goulet would do it sometimes. Tony Garea would do it sometimes.
Yeah, with the
Pritchard.
Yeah, at the end he was like, "Thank you for not dying out there," or I'm like,
That's
it was
awesome.
great. No, it was a fun time. It was a fun time, and doing we did. I think that was HLA was after we did our documentary. The documentary came out. That's one of the first. So I started working for you. I was just coming in on the weekends, and I was helping out, and then Bruce came out and saw one of our shows, and Pritchard saw me, the schoolgirl thing. He's like, "Yeah, tell her she needs to get in the ring." And that's when you're like, "You need to get in the ring."
So that's how that started.
Yeah,
okay.
Bruce is like, "Does she take bumps?" And you're like, "She'll take bumps, like I'm sure."
Because you had a good attitude. That's why I would have said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then right after that, it was Saturday classes every Saturday, and then living so close to John Cena, he and I, since I drove all the time. We carpooled together all the time. So that was my road dog. And then when I had to do stuff out in Orange County, I was always with Joe. So we did a lot of, because I was living out of my car. I think I was living out of my car then. So
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe. Sorry. Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I mean, John,
I'm very lucky to say that those two dudes were my road dogs when we first started out in wrestling. Like, I'm very privileged to say that. You know,
it's trippy if you put it like any kind of like historical perspective. You know, where pro wrestling is concerned, they're like two of the biggest stars in the industry in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it ever surreal to you? Because you look at that training series. We just posted our old training series on my YouTube account and Hannibal's YouTube account. And, Tom Howard, Tom was, I know you and Tom are really good friends also. Yeah. Tom was our head instructor. He still, 20 some years later, gets approached a lot by wrestlers he's never even seen or met. They're like, "Oh, wow. I got your training series, and that's why I got in the business." And, and here's this girl that comes in like maybe be a valet. And now you're one of two girls in what's probably considered the best training series ever made in pro wrestling, if I say so myself. And you're in there with John Cena, Samoa Joe, Frankie Kazarian, and Christopher Daniels, and Tom Howard. I mean, do you ever trip on that? You're like, it's just another day at the office.
Well, back then, I just thought how lucky I was, or, just tripping. I was just tripping at the fact that you were willing to do it. You were willing to do anything, Rick, back then. You're like, all right, we're going to go behind the scenes. You were doing things that people weren't doing. Like, we were doing our documentary, like, how dare you go behind the scenes of professional wrestling? Or, I'm going to show people how to wrestle, rather than, because we had all those backyard wrestling shows going on at the time. Kids were killing themselves. So you were going to show them, I'm going to show you really how to do it. So you did. And I was just very lucky to be there for the ride and be a part of it. And now it's surreal now to see, like, I watch TV commercials and I can hear John's voice, on a Honda commercial. Just kind of drives you nuts, but you're like, that's my homie. He made it. You know what I mean? So it's killer.
Are you in touch with John or Joe at all?
I haven't talked to John in probably 2 years now. I think too, he just recently got married. So, and that guy's grinds. That's all that guy does is work. That's all he does is work. So, but yeah.
And how about, do you talk to Joe? Let me ask you, do you stay in touch with any of the old crew other than
Sasha?
Other than my girlfriend Savvy?
Other than your girlfriend Savvy, that's about it. I did a lot after wrestling. It's a whirlwind. I see Chris Bell. I talked to Chris Bell. I still keep in touch with him.
And for those who don't know, although a lot do, Chris is a successful documentary filmmaker now, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, which a lot of people know, and Prescription Thugs, and all sorts of other interesting product. And the brother of Smelly, who was one of our first heavyweight champions at UPW, and the brother of Mad Dog, who was also a heavyweight champion with us, and for a time our head instructor. And he unfortunately is no longer with us. Obviously, he passed a few years ago. But Chris, I understand, is doing well, and I'm glad to hear you're still in touch. Please tell him I said hello if you think of it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Chris is I'll have to text him one of these days. I follow him through Instagram, and that's pretty much where I get most of my knowledge is through Instagram, and my friends. I'm on Facebook. But not that, like, I'll be on for like a couple minutes, check a couple things, and then, I've been off social media for so long. Like, kind of, I've taken a step back from social media for a while. Last year,
it can get ugly. It can be a really challenging space to be in these days. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah,
things as they are. We're getting there's a ton of comments. If you guys want to go to any, there's a lot on Hannibal's page. That's why I was looking away a minute ago. I wasn't losing interest or being distracted. I was looking at Hannibal's feed, and there are a lot of people on there. Like this guy, Randy Helm says, "Smile, John Poz, LOL."
Randy's a good buddy of mine. He actually used to work for the WWE. He used to work for Triple H. So he's a good guy to know. Yeah.
And then you have
Randy's the man.
You have J.A.R. Rogers saying, "Poz, great T-shirt." Is it a freaking John Poz show or what?
Go Spurs, go! Go Spurs, go! There you go.
John's got some support.
Yes, you have to. You got to get some support. A lot of support for you. Christopher says that he loves you, so that's good.
Oh, thanks, Christopher.
He does, and Ray says Jenny is so cute.
Oh, thanks.
And
the Sentinel says, "Dame, DAYM, Jenny's still fine." All right.
Yes, nice. That's what I needed. I Googled myself one time, and there was a question out there that asked if I was dead or alive.
Wow. Well, we can answer that
I'm
here
alive.
now.
I'm here. I'm here. But
that's fantastic.
What else?
Go ahead, please. Yes.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, doing those wrestling. It's not so much surreal. See, I'm just happy to see that everyone's successful, or they have moved on to successful things. Like Tom Howard, I know he's out here. I need to reconnect with that guy. But you said he's moving soon to Florida.
Yes, but we can't talk about that on the air because that's like the kayfabe thing.
Oh, got it.
Right.
Anywho,
right, no problem.
So, anyways, but yeah, and then Melissa, you said that I've worked with some great people out there when we worked together at UPW.
Cheerleader Melissa is in Las Vegas. Yes.
Yeah, I'd have to reconnect with her. But other than that, through wrestling, the only person I talk to is Savvy.
Well, please tell her I said hello as well, if you would.
No, I will for sure.
So what was life like after wrestling for you? I don't know how you summarize 20 years so quickly, but people want to know what you've been up to.
Life after wrestling. I stayed in the South Bay in Redondo Beach. I became a bartender, and then I also started working for Dive and Surf, which is the founding surf shop for Body Glove. And I got to work for Body Glove, and I got to get in there, and I worked under the VP of marketing. And I basically learned all the facets of the office and the store. So I started out in the shop, learned how to dive. I don't know how to surf, but I've tried. And just started out in sales, and then moved into doing their events and promotions, putting on surf contests, putting on surf festivals and stuff like that. So that's what I did through the majority of my my late 20s and my early 30s. My late 30s, I went back to bartending, and then I started working for Toyota after I left bartending, and then now I left the car industry right as COVID hit. So right now I tried to go back to bartending. I bartended for maybe 2 weeks, and then California shut down completely.
There's no bars open.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are bars out here in Las Vegas, but until I make a real move, I don't, right now I'm just kind of in limbo. I miss those days. It was a lot of fun back then, but yeah, I basically was just living life in California, living the American dream. I left Las Vegas when I was 19, and I was on national television by the time I was 21. So I can't.
That's pretty awesome.
I can't complain.
I can't
complain. I was in wrestling magazines. I was one of the firsts, so I can say like I did a lot of firsts back then.
I found a bunch of that stuff yesterday. Do you actually like Wow Magazine and all that?
Yep, I still have them. I still have
all that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, you got like full page spreads and all that.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
But
man.
Back then was a really big deal to be in the top pages of Women of Wrestling. Like that's a huge deal. So
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, I just found it yesterday. I'm looking at questions for you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it was a lot of fun back then. It was super family orientated and a lot of training every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday. And I think we did some Wednesdays and Thursdays. But lots of training from the best. Christopher Daniels was the best, Tom Howard. And of course I have to bring up the twins. They were awesome.
All right. Let's talk about the twins for a second. So we were talking about being sexually harassed. You're telling me the Ballard brothers never sexually harassed you?
I want to say like in a goofy, like your goofy cousin trying to hit on, like, hey babe, like they were goofy. They were so funny.
I think
the Ballard brothers are just they're fun. They mean no harm.
I know that. Of course, I wouldn't have said that otherwise. But
of course.
But I do think now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking, John, especially with your reach on social media and Hannibal, who's with us, we should start a new hashtag movement today. Hashtag Ballards2.
Ballards2.
Let's get it going. I hope Shannon's hearing this right now, because if he is, he's losing his shit. And he deserves it.
I want to say what's up to Favi, too, if Favi's out there listening. He's always been a great
support. King Favi's with us?
If he's on
the king
there,
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
Is he on there tonight? I don't know. He's always, those are always people that have stayed in touch through the years through social media, but I haven't seen or heard from Samoa Joe. I don't even know where he's at.
WWE TV every week.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's still doing. He's
all right.
He's injured right now, so he's a commentator, but he's doing a really good job as the commentator. But he'll be returning soon to actual wrestling. But yeah, looking forward to his return.
Awesome. That's awesome. See, I don't even watch anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not very up on it myself. But so I was going to ask, you don't watch the product anymore?
No, I mean, here and there I'll switch through. I'll go through the channels and I see how the Bellas and the Divas have succeeded. And I want to give a huge, huge shout out to all those females because they are killing it in the industry. They're killing it, just succeeding on their own name. I wish technology as it is now was I wish we had that back then, because shit, I'd be all over it. With social media but right now, right now that's a I don't want to say it's a young person's game, but it is a young person's game in wrestling. You got to be, unless you're like, I don't know. I don't want to, you know what I mean? It's a young person's game, especially if you want to work in the ring. And but you still have to have the notoriety if you wanted to work outside of the ring, so it's still, it's tough. It is it's a tough industry.
Yeah, the work rate is, especially now, it's brutal, and the girls are every bit as good as the guys now. I mean,
better.
John, would you agree with that, John?
A lot of them are good, like Sasha Banks, Asuka. There's a bunch of girls that are wrestling today that are really, really exceptionally. Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter. Some of them are really, really
Bianca
good.
Belair, Shayna Baszler. I mean, the list. Ronda Rousey when she was out it. The list goes on and on, man. They're getting really freaking good.
Oh, they're amazing. I love watching them. Like when I was still bartending, and if I had to bartend on any kind of like wrestling night, I would make sure we had wrestling on, and I would show these guys. People be like, "Oh, wrestling's fake," and blah blah blah. And then after like sitting with me at the bar for like an hour, they'd have a different attitude. Some guys would try to behind the bars like, "Oh, you're a wrestler. You're gonna think you're tough. You think you're tougher than me. You used to be a wrestler." I'm like, "No, I don't think I'm tougher than you."
Oh God!
Like
wow.
they'd get like intimidated, but I would be like, "You're a male. You're physically stronger than me." Like I don't know what to tell. Like you got one up on me, guy. But yeah,
that is awesome. Who were your when you were like in the thick of it? Who were your favorite wrestlers back then?
Oh my gosh, I was a huge fan of HBK. I loved Shawn Michaels. And then after working in the industry, I loved China when I was coming up. Like I looked up to China because she was pretty much like one of the only females at the time. I mean, next to Sable and Ivory and a couple others. And Ivory I've already got to work with her. She was amazing. But as far as I love The Rock because he could entertain, he can pop the crowd, and he was great on the mic. I mean, for when we were coming up, that's who was coming up at the time. And when we were wrestling, and that's who I was a fan of, was like Shawn Michaels and The Rock. Shawn Michaels could out wrestle any one of those fools, and The Rock could get on the mic and school all of them.
Yeah, you're right. I would agree with both of those. So on the Looney,
Chris Jericho too. Sorry, I got to give a shout out to my boy Chris Jericho. I got to work with him. Yeah, he was awesome. I got to work with him out in when I got to wrestle. Remember when I did the match out in Puerto Rico?
I don't. Remind me,
so
please. What happened?
I did Bruce Pritchard flew me out to Puerto Rico to do WWF Puerto Rico. And
for Victor Canoñas. Okay, that was a development. That was a territory then. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I went out back then, and I did my first. What did we do back then? Bra and panties match where you had to rip off the dress. You had to rip off their nightgown or their. Anyways, this girl, I had to film promos in Anaheim or in Orange County when we were all out there. I had to film promos in my schoolgirl uniform. So she had to rip up my original schoolgirl uniform when we were out there in Puerto Rico, and I lost the match. And when I saw Chris Jericho backstage, he's like, "Am I ever going to see you work a match where you have clothes on?" And I was like, I said, "Come on, buddy." He's like, "I mean, I saw you get the shit kicked out of you at the Anaheim Pond, and now you barely have your clothes on." He's like, "Are you ever going to work some real matches?" I was like, "Shut up."
That's brutal. That's brutal.
I took it though. You know what? You had to take it back then because they.
Oh God!
It was.
Hell
yeah. It was a man's world. So.
Yes, but you had the right personality to get along in that for sure. No doubt.
I think so too. I mean, being raised around boys, and I came up in the rodeo industry and being around men in the rodeo industry, so I had a kind of a thick skin, I guess.
You know, if if someone asked me to like summarize my impressions of you from back then, I had to do it quickly. I would just think like good attitude all the time, no drama whatsoever. I can't even think like of an incident where there was like 1 second of drama or conflict with you, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'll never forget that night that we drove Edge in, and Edge and Christian were in the car with Sasha and I, and we were talking about who they were working against that night. And I said, "Oh, you're working against my tag team, Nova and Frankie Kazarian." Right. And he's like, "Oh, cool. I get to work with you tonight. So why don't you give me the Hurricane? What do you like to do? Give me that Hurricane Rana off the top rope." Awesome. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I looked at Sasha and I go, "We need to wait till we get back to you got to talk about this with Rick and them. Like, I'm not just saying, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, cause I knew that was like against the rules. Like, everything was, already kind of planned, like everything that had been set into place, So I'll never forget when he came into the dressing room with all of us, and he's like, "Oh, I wanted her to give that move to me off the top rope tonight." And as soon as he left the room, I'll never forget you and Joe Schmo look at me, and you both look at me. You better nail that move tonight off the top rope.
Right. Yep. That's
Thank
awesome.
God. Thank God
That's
I
some
did.
good stuff. That's really cool. Yeah, John, we had a tag team we called Evolution before the WWF Evolution. Ours was Nova and Frankie Kazarian, and it's when they both had long hair and were both like shredded, and the matching outfit deal. And I thought they were going to be big stars in WWF. They really missed the boat on you guys. And Looney was their manager. It was such a killer trio. I'm glad you brought that up. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah,
that
they
was
were great guys.
Really cool stuff.
I think I talked too much like a sailor for Nova, though. He wasn't really a big fan of me.
He's such a straight-laced guy. I love him. He's one of my favorite guys in this business.
I had no idea, and I had no idea back then. I had no idea about that back then. And me, I was like, I drank like a sailor. I cussed like a sailor. I was 20. I was 19 years old when I started with you.
Right.
I mean, I didn't leave the business till I was 25. So
that's now with the Looney Airport Express. Who else did you drive? Any other good stories?
Kurt Angle and was it Takahashi? Takahashi?
Oh, Tajiri.
Sorry.
He didn't speak English anyways.
Yeah, and we got. I remember we all went out. You included. We took Kurt Angle out. We got him drunk, and it was hilarious.
Oh, you know why I remember that? No, here's John. I think you'll get a kick out of this, and I know Kurt wouldn't mind me saying this because I've talked with him about it since. We were in my UPW Suburban. Remember that big monster car that I had?
Yeah, that I drove all the time.
I think it was me and you and Bruce Pritchard and Kurt Angle, and we're going over to TGI Fridays, I think, after a show or one of those places.
Yeah.
And I remember a Kid Rock song came on. It was like I think it doesn't matter what it was, and Kurt's like, "Oh, turn that up," and turn it up, and he starts like yelling it out, and he goes, "Wait, turn it down." He goes, "Oh," it was like objectionable lyrics, right? And Kurt goes, he goes, "Oh my God, if my wife heard me doing this, I'd be in big trouble." And I like to joke with him about that now because Kurt went from the straightest laced guy in the history of the industry to like completely the other direction.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then came back. He's doing great now. He's doing really, really well. But yeah, everything. He's sharp. His game is on point. But his big concern with his wife busting him for singing bad words. That was pretty awesome.
Funny. I used to make fun. I made fun of him. I said, "Hey, there's no milk and cookies here tonight. We're all drinking beer." And Bruce Pritchard was double fisted, and I said, "What's up? We're all double fisted." So we were good that night.
Good times. Good times. John, do you have anything for our esteemed guest here?
So when 3-minute warning, Jamal and Rosie stiffed you in the ring, like why did that happen? Were they just being reckless? Like what really went down at that point in time?
I think back then, I think they thought we were just some girls off the street and they were just going to show us what was up. I honestly think that's what it was, because I honestly don't think he had any idea that I was a trained wrestler or that Sasha was. I think they just thought we were two girls that they brought in to work their gimmick that night. I think that's pretty much what they thought. And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna make this look good," and he made it look good because I got killed. But no, I never saw any of them afterwards. No, I'm not going to say there's an apology or anything like that. That would never, it was wrestling. Like that's, it was wrestling.
And John, 3-minute warning. That's Rosie and Jamal. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And are they both passed or just one of them?
Yes, both.
They're both passed. Well,
that's
so
crazy.
definitely no apology coming then. And I'm not trying to be funny. But
right.
Yeah, that's the business. Yeah, you're right. I don't think two giant guys like that should be taking those kind of liberties with any females, green or otherwise, especially not green. But it was a different world back then, man.
It was really 20 years ago. It was a completely different world.
Crazy times. John, do you have anything else?
What was John Cena like back then? And did you ever date John Cena?
I always get this question. I always get this question. No, we're really good friends. He was a big nerd. He loved his video games and he liked to freestyle. We'd keep each other up at night, or he'd help me when we'd have to do those late night drives from Northern California back to Southern California. I would drive the big excursion, Rick's big car. And he would keep me up with doing freestyle, and we'd freestyle all night until we'd get there the next morning. But yeah, no, he's a really good friend of mine. I love him with all my heart, and I think we're still close to this day or we're still friends to this day because I knew him when he was nothing. So
nice. Jenny, you were on the APW road trips, weren't you?
Yeah, I drove the APW road trips.
Well, that's what you were saying. Oh, my car?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you remember that?
You guys would all be passed out in the back, and he would be in the front seat with me, and he would keep me up, and we'd freestyle. We'd freestyle rap until we got to Orange County.
John, we went to we had a UPW versus APW feud, and they came to us. We went to them, and the first time we went there, Northern California. And I might have this wrong, so if I do, feel free to correct me. It's fine. There was like kind of armory sort of building, and we planned it so they had their top guys, so the guys that we were going to beat up in the ring, and we drove. I had this monster. Oh, it wasn't a Suburban. It was a Ford Excursion, way bigger than a Suburban, the UPW car. We drove it into the building, up the aisle, almost to the ring, and then got out and just waylaid him. It was Jenny and Prototype, John Cena, and who was our crew? We had a good crew with us at that time.
Samoa Joe, Frankie Kazarian, the Big Schwag, and I think the twins were already up there.
But God, there's no way I would have sat in the car for 7 hours with the Ballard. So
yeah, no. But in our car ride though, I think it was just me, you, John, maybe Schwag, and I think that's it, and Frankie.
Those were good times, weren't they, man?
We had some great times.
Never see times like those again, probably. But
no, we had a really great thing going when it was going. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Good to have the memories, that's for sure. That is for sure. Well, Jenny, anything that you have, anything you want to sign off with? You're so good at this. I just assume that you be in charge.
No, no. This is like the second podcast I've done. I got one other person who asked me to do a podcast through my Facebook for wrestling. No, everyone stay positive. We got to stay positive and remember that mental health is our main health. I know we all want to be physically healthy, but to be, they both go hand in hand. So physical, doing some cardio, a little cardio every day can help keep the doctor away and help keep the blues away. So all I can say out there is I'm a very big advocate for mental health. And if you have any opportunity to get help, seek it. There's people out there that are there, because right now people are at home and they don't have anyone to hang out with or talk to, or, so just remember that there are resources out there. You're not alone.
You're preaching to the choir. We talk about that almost every week, and that's pretty exactly how we say it. So right there with you. Awesome. Very wise words, Jenny Lane. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Man, it's so good to see you. Really appreciate you doing this. And
I appreciate you asking me. I'm happy I finally got back to you.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah, exactly. Thought you were kayfabing me for a minute there. But
yeah,
good. No. I think after this, you'll probably get some more requests. So get ready.
Okay. Well, I'm here. Thank you so much. I see Danny. Thank you. It's very healthy.
That's a good one to sign off with. Thank you, Jenny. Great to see you're healthy and doing well. And I want to say the same thing. You look great. You sound great.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you. Thank you, Jenny.
Great to see you guys. Anytime, I'm here. It was so great to meet you, John and Rick. I love you. I need to come out to Maui.
Please come visit. Would love to have you.
All right.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
Take care, Jenny.
Great. Nice meeting you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. John.
Yes, sir.
So people want to see more of Looney Lane. Our training series, Ultimate Pro Wrestling Training, is now on my YouTube, I believe, and on Hannibal's YouTube. So you go to youtube.com/Rick Bassman, and the first of the 3 volumes is posted. I watched a little bit of it last night, John. It is old school, man. Have you seen it?
I have probably not seen it in years. I remember watching it. What the hell channel is that? Not History Channel. A&E maybe? Is that what the hell channel?
Channel Discovery, History, something like that. One of those. I watched it last night.
Yeah, it was Discovery. That's
okay.
It.
Yeah, I mean, back in those days, we had specials on all kinds of different cable networks. Nat Geo, the Learning Channel. It was quite the time. But I put it on last night to watch it for a minute, and it like opens like with this effect of like these roaring flames. It is like so 1990s. It's not even funny, but still cool to see it anyway. And it was very trippy seeing a young Tom Howard and Chris Daniels and Frankie Kazarian and John Cena and Samoa Joe in the ring. An almost skinny Samoa Joe, I would say, and Looney Lane like at 20 years of age. Pretty cool stuff. Good memories, man. That's for sure.
Yes, good stuff. I just wish they would have did a Samoa Joe versus John Cena feud in the WWE. I don't know why they never did, but they had the footage. If they owned that footage, they could have used that and could have built it up. But I guess they decided not to go in that direction. Oh, or Joe got hurt at one point, but depending on the rumor.
Now, when you say they had the footage, you mean footage from us or from somewhere else?
From you.
You did? Okay. It's so funny, John, how you know more about like my own company than I do, because I couldn't remember if we ever ran that match or that program, but I'm sure we must have at one point or another.
And they could have talked about how Joe was to help training the guys and Cena was there. You know what I mean? Like they could have built it up really well, but they never went through and pulled the trigger. I thought it was just a no-brainer that as soon as Joe went there, that he would feud with Cena.
Wait, hold on. WWE not following through on a no-brainer? I can't even begin to imagine.
Yes.
Right. Oh, well, that's all right, man. We gotta hit them a little bit every now and then. They can take it.
Yep.
That's all right.
Yes.
That is all right. Well, my man, that was cool. Thank you. That was fun.
Yes, thank you.
What should people be logging onto and looking out for in the two-man power trip world?
Just check me out on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Got a ton of shows with Kevin Sullivan, Dr. Tom Pritchard, Justin Credible. The list goes on and on. I got so many shows coming out, so many interviews coming out. Just had one with World's Strongest Man, Ted Arcidi. Coming up, Dr. D. David Schultz will be back on the show. So I've got a lot of good stuff coming up. So just follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com, for more stuff.
Yes, you are building quite the empire. TMPT Empire. That's for two-man power trip, everybody. And for us, talking-tough.com. That's our website. It's our hub. Everything comes from there. And if you all wouldn't mind possibly subscribing to YouTube, it's youtube.com/Rick Bassman. That's under my name. And even though there is a Talking Tough Instagram, I'm trying to build my personal one. So if you wouldn't mind, check out Rick_Bassman. John Poz, Rachel Sartoris, who's on in the background from Los Angeles. My vast appreciation to the both of you as always. So great seeing old friend and colleague Looney Lane on today. And I'm going to go feed my dogs. Good night, everybody.